There comes a point in every politician's life when the only thing they can do is tell the truth. John Kerry's came in Davos this year when he detailed how we'll achieve the always receding goals of climate control.
Money, 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 money.
His response set off a bell in my head. Where had I heard that before? Then it came to me. In fact, full disclosure, this column's real intention is not to revisit the history of soul music, but to pull you into the escalating fight over government borrowing.
Thank you for getting me the best room I ever had here in 35 years.
We almost missed John Kerry.
Takes a long time to go up the ladder, folks.
Unlike Joe Biden, his Senate colleague, who somehow won a presidential election, Mr. Kerry is never at a loss for words.
And by the time you get there, you can't climb it anymore.
President Biden doesn't seem to want to talk about anything these days, and most of what he does say is relayed through his press secretary, such as insisting that raising the debt ceiling automatically is non-negotiable.
This is something that should be happening without conditions.
Conventional wisdom holds that blocking an increase in the debt ceiling would be suicidal for Republicans.
If we don't raise the debt ceiling, we go into default, and only one default is enough to nuke the economy.
The end game is not in question. The debt ceiling will be raised. But what happens between now and the June deadline is a classic messaging competition. Who will the public blame if the United States goes to the brink of default? In 2012, the Democrats ran a TV ad against Paul Ryan and his proposed Medicare reforms, saying he'd throw grandma off the cliff. And their general approach has not changed.
We're not getting rid of anything, and you can't scare the bejesus out of people saying we're going to get rid of Social Security.
But this time, it's different. Because in the 2 years since the pandemic struck, Democrats have not stopped spending. Go through the trillions serially committed. The initial COVID relief bill, the follow-on Biden bill, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and now the Biden budget.
If you wanted to balance the budget in the next 10 years, you'd have to cut about $7 trillion in spending. And that means you have to make substantial cuts to things people care a lot about.
But that's not all. Amid the traditional trillions, Democrats ostentatiously added a new federal spending commitment: climate.
We need to scale up climate finance, but we need desperately to scale down anti-climate finance.
And while spending on defense also normally runs in the background, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping have changed that.
This is not a moment to slow down. It's a time to dig deeper.
Add one more detail: an inflation spike that cannot be separated from the spending spike.
We are going to have a recession. The only question is how big, how severe.
The debt ceiling coverage itself has pushed forward another attention-getting number. Interest payments on the debt are now an astounding $400 billion annually.
If you had a child, you gave them a credit card, and they kept hitting the limit, you wouldn't just keep increasing it.
Against this backdrop, Biden Democrats offer one response: just keep shoveling tax dollars into the federal furnace. And while the president said he was ready to work with Republicans, there was this too.
These guys are the fiscally, they're fiscally demented, I think. They don't quite get it.
It is not at all clear that the public is in the mood to be told by a sitting president that this scale of federal spending is inconsequential and non-negotiable.
Our debt is intergenerational theft. We are digging a hole so deep for our children, for our grandchildren, they'll never be able to get out of.
Automatic entitlement spending is 64% of the federal budget. It will run out. The question at the center of this is, how, in fact, do we control spending?
It's true. The budget outlook is unsustainable, and the growth is on the spending side. So that needs to be dealt with. Have the good fight on the spending. Just don't do it with the debt limit.
To repeat, the debt ceiling will be raised. Republicans shouldn't get bogged down now pitting program against program. But they do have a rare opportunity to frame the spending narrative.
I fully believe we're going to have a debt ceiling deal. Fully believe that. But I will also say that the White House strategy of, we're not going to have any negotiations is insane. There must be spending restraints.
The key word here isn't debt ceiling. It's $30.7 trillion. Do Biden Democrats really believe that $30 trillion doesn't matter? That $400 billion for interest payments don't matter. That a federal budget close to bursting through $6 trillion doesn't matter. That offloading billions of student debt on everyone else doesn't matter. And let's not forget the party's climate spending entitlement. Joe Biden promised normalcy. This spending is not normal, and the American people know it.